Here's Brad from Blue Nile Farm. Today we're going to take out a 20-foot chain harrow. And a lot of guys around me don't use this tool at all in my area, and I know they use it a lot in Europe. I bought this chain harrow for two specific reasons: for my hayfields, for de-thatching them, and assist in overseeding. And I also bought this for handling manure in my pastures with the horses. But this has many other uses besides that. I have a hayfield that we're going to go overseed right now, so we're going to take it out to a 10-acre hayfield. They just say it sprayed a couple of weeks ago with 2,4-D, and we're going to use a broadcast seeder to put down Timothy orchard grass, and we're going to use this to basically aerate the field. And then after we broadcast, we're going to go back over it with this chain harrow and incorporate the seed and hopefully get it down to the ground where it'll start to grow. So with that said, let's get out to the field and let's get started. So when it comes down to hooking up that chain harrow, I used to just hook it up to the 3-point, but I had to get this quick attach plate for my bale wrapper. And so I decided, hey, I'm going to alter this because I don't have a lot of things that fits this quick attach plate. And this is kind of a tedious thing to hook up to. So I kind of moved it apart a little bit since you have to put this chain harrow together. I spread it out so it is workable with this quick attach plate. It makes it a huge difference. But this quick attach plate is only as good as having a hydraulic top link. And I say that on almost every video. I use a hydraulic top link, but this allows me to move this forward, get in there and hook everything up without getting off and adjusting it. So the hydraulic top link coupled with this quick attach plate, 2 thumbs up. This is the way to go for this unit as well as my bale wrapper. I cannot live without it. But this is why I love that hydraulic top link. It makes it so much easier trying to hook on to things. So we're out here in the field. We're going to just get this chain harrow set, and we're just going to get it down a little bit in height. And then we're going to just drop down the back end a little. And so that just gives us an idea. Then of course we have wings. So we're going to drop those down. So we'll be at 20 foot. And the whole idea is, this chain harrow, once it's set and we take off, is to get this de-thatch, meaning take off all the dead grass off the field. And we got a 10-acre field to do. It was sprayed recently. And what they're supposed to do is break the soil up a little bit so that when we do broadcast it, that seed will have seed to soil contact. And I've had really good luck with this chain harrow on dirt, just broadcasting and using this to level out the dirt and cover the seed. And my stands have been awesome. But we're going to do this right now, and I haven't done this at all this year because of the way our conditions have been, and I got to get this field seeded. And it's already beginning of October. And we've had pretty much a drought like everybody else. But anyway, let's take off and let's see how this goes. See, I can hold this at the same time that I'm driving. So you'll see as you go, it's kind of like we're going to stripe a ball field. And it's pulling dead grass and loose grass, weeds also up. We're going to shoot down this field, and we're just going to turn and come right back. And what we're going to do is create a striped appearance in the field, but it'll be easier to follow with the seeder because at least I can pick a lane and go back and forth versus just guessing. And when we get to the headlands, we'll lift off and drop off all that dead grass and go from there. But you can see all the dead grass getting pulled out, and this is the first step in aerating. You know, most people don't do this, and like in the springtime, I like to do this because it lifts all that dead grass that's been laying all year and gets the grass to kind of sprout up better. It really does look pretty nice once it's done. That's how I do this with the chain harrow right now. I'm going to make a bunch of passes to see, and then I'll kind of give you a look at what it looks like with the stripes. So this field I planted 2 years in a row. Last year it really didn't take off good, and then I had this is a real wet field, so I get a lot of canary grass in there. It looks like a big rock I found. Have to get rid of that. But it's just pulling and working the ground, beating up the little weeds, ripping them out. And like I say, since it's been sprayed, everything should be pretty much dead as far as the broadleaf goes. So once the legs are down and you're set with this, all you have to do is lift up at the headlands, basically turn around and go back out. Well, I'm going about 6.8 miles an hour, moving pretty good. And you know, it's kind of wet, or was wet, but what's nice about this is that when you got grass that's dead and it's just laying under the ground, it pulls this stuff right up. You know, and you can see, we're chucking through. If you're looking, you can see the striped field, so you can know where you're going, you know, like kind of like a ballpark with a 20-foot stripe. And it'll help me when I'm playing down my seed. But I kind of run over this, it rips up the dead grass, it breaks it apart, keeps it off the ground, supposedly rips out small seeds, you know, and I had this field sprayed, like I said, and definitely need some TLC because they didn't even bale it this year. But some of this dead grass and these big clumps, they come up, bring them up to the surface and let them break down again, and it just makes it a lot easier and it allows that new growth to start, you know, coming back up. And you can see some of this dead grass I possibly right there in clumps, you know, and I try not to roll it, but you know, the longer that sits in the field, a little bit better it is. That's why it's nice to do it early in the spring. And when you get down to the ends here, it's best to slow way down and turn tight, and hopefully I can show you this because I got to hold this while I drive. So I get down to the end, I'll pick it up, and what you'll see is I'll do a real quick turn. So we're at a 20-foot mark. Try to turn the best you can. Now we're lined up and we're good to start. You know, in England, they do this all the time out in Europe, and I don't understand why guys don't do it in the United States. I do think it makes my fields look a lot nicer, and I do think it does a nice job getting all that dead thatch off, you know, from remnants of other fields, or, you know, after you bale, and I think it does a really nice job. So, and it might level out some of your high spots or low spots if it's broken up soil. You know, like I said, I had this guy try to get in here and spray it. This is a real wet field, and I fight that we have a lot of native grasses that are growing a lot of wet soils, and weed canary grass is one that grows a lot. It's probably the only one I really like. The rest of it, there's like swamp weeds, and I could do without it. But this field's always been wet, and I accrued it, and it's been sitting fallow for 30, 40 years, and then finally got it worked up a little bit. But I do have some wet spots, and I have to contend with that. So one of the biggest questions I had is, you know, how low do you go? Well, you want to kind of be higher at the top and lower at the bottom. And here's a good example. You can see how easy the stripes are in the field. They're pretty profound, and you can see them all the way up by the road. So it really makes it a lot easier to do your job. And I really try to cover everything. But, you know, even when you're done, the whole field looks pretty nice. But again, you just want the chain harrows to basically touch. You don't want to be heavy in the front end. You kind of want to just make sure you're just tickling the ground, doing their job. They don't go real deep, but they do enough to incorporate a seed, just a small amount into the ground. You know, on dirt ground that I tilled up, you know, I don't even use a cold-mulcher. A cold-packer. I wind up using the chain harrow. And it does a really nice job for me, and I don't see no sense in using the cold-packer. And it breaks up all the clods and does a great thing. So just a different way of doing things. But, you know, with the broadcast seeder, I definitely would say that this has been a good complement to it and makes broadcast seeding a lot easier. Here's another shot. I'm going back. We're done. And you can kind of get a good view of, again, striped field. You can see some of the dead grass is piled up too, but there's not a lot of it. So when it comes down to doing my hay fields, when I first started about doing hays, about 8 years, most of the fields I acquired were basically fallow fields, meaning they weren't farmed, they were hay, but nobody ever took care of them. They didn't spray them, they didn't seed them or overseed them. They were just kind of like growing up, and people would harvest them if they wanted to and get a couple cuts on them, and they just sat fallow. So when I first started, I tilled some of them up and seeded them that way with Timothy orchard grass, which is what I produce. Or some of them, they actually had a decent stand, or at least a partial stand. I did a lot of overseeding, and I took a lot of really crappy fields and started to make them produce by overseeding. I do not have an overseeder, and the only way I seeded my fields was using the chain harrow, which I just showed you what I did in the field. And then I just would broadcast seed with this. And I was told through our local co-op that I should put 10 pounds to the acre of Timothy orchard grass, 50-50, in the spreader per acre. And if I was seeding bare ground, it was 20 pounds to the acre. Now I know it probably would incorporate a lot less seed if I was using a seeder itself for direct seeding, but I wanted to try this because this was the best thing that I could afford at the time. The downfall, it cost me more in seed. I am looking at buying an overseeder next year, and I'll let you know what I decide to do with that and once I get it. And I'm looking at basically maybe a brilliant tilling seed, and I know they're only 6 foot for the cheaper one, but they're over 20 grand just for a 6 footer. If I do an 8, I guess they're almost 50. So I figured I'll just stick with the 6 footer and see how it goes. But I'm interested in the brilliant. It kind of caught my eye, and also looking at possibly using that for some side jobs as well. So that's why I want to have multiple purposes out of it, not just one for agriculture. I do about 150 acres of hay, give or take. And so I think that getting a good program with a good overseeder is ideal for me, because I would choose not to plow up fields. I'd rather just get into pre-existing fields, spray them, reseed them, and lime them and fertilize them, than to go through all the hassle of retilling them. So with that said, currently, until I wind up getting that overseeder, we're going to stick with the chain harrow, which does a great job for me, and this. And we're going to go out in the field right now, and we're going to spread Timothy orchard grass overseeding. We just took the chain harrow through it once. Everything is striped, so the plan is to take this seeder, try to figure out where I'm going to get 10 pounds of the acre, which I never can do real well with this. And hopefully we'll be able to pick a decent speed, incorporate this into the field quickly, and get about 10 pounds of the acre with less passes that I have to go over. I don't want to do it twice. I like to do it once if possible. But unfortunately, many times I have to do it twice. So we'll see where it goes. And then we're going to go back over it with the chain harrow, whether it's today or tomorrow morning, and then that'll be done. And that field will be ready to go, and hopefully it starts to produce better grass for next year. So that's kind of where we're at. So let's go out in the field. So we're out in the hay field. You can clearly see in this video the striped pattern that I left in the hay field after taking the chain harrow through. So it's going to give me an idea roughly of the passes I'm going to have to make with the broadcast spreader. And I'm going to try to stay in each row the best I can. One thing that's nice about sticking in the rows is the fact that as you're driving down the field, you're going to have a better idea of, where you're supposed to be. Looking for tracks isn't always the easiest thing. And what's nice about having everything striped is that it's just a lot easier to kind of give you an idea of where you need to be. I'm about 20 foot wide. These broadcast seeders, depending on what you're spreading, probably don't go out that much, So with orchard grass, I had a choice of going hull-less or with hull, and I think the hull-less is better because I think it throws a little farther. When you deal with hull, I think it's just kind of like fluffy and it doesn't go where it needs to go. So we're better than halfway done, and part of my problem is that I have a little bit of seed left, and I'm going to show you what I got left and then give you an idea. So there's the seed, and I unfortunately didn't show you where we started off, but I'm going to say we're about halfway and a little bit better than half. And I got to finish. I just went through the whole field at least once, so I'm going to go back through it and put it down. Like having it striped, it makes a lot of difference because it makes it easy. I'm going to stick with the stripes. I'm not going to go a different direction because it's a real pain. I'm going to stick with what I'm doing. We're going to get it done. So with that said, I'll hit you back up when I'm finished with this. I mean, it's really just broadcasting. I'm going up and down the roads. And I'm going to tell you, striping really does make a difference. It really makes it easy to kind of get an idea where you're at and stay in line. You're not have to worry about just the turns and eyeballing the site or trying to follow your old tracks. It doesn't work. So this is the best thing I can say. I'm really not have no regrets about it. And I just, as far as calibrating these broadcast spreaders, it sucks. And I think most people really don't like doing it, but it's the cheapest way to overseed a field or even seed a field. And sometimes I just should open that thing up and just let it go, because it is frustrating. You're wasting your time going back and forth, and I don't know. I have really good stands. This does work for me, but to be honest with you though, I don't like spending time that I waste. Time is probably my biggest downfall, because I have a full-time job and I have to do this too. It's going to be dark in about an hour. I have to go through this whole field again. I should be done before it's dark, but it's one of those things. And I want to use every bit of this seed, because that's what it really calls for to do. And I really try to stick with the program. So, hey, this is part of farming. And, come the spring, when I show you this field, I'm hoping to show you a really good, rich field that it's worth. Why do you do these things? Because, this is where the money's at. If you don't put it in now and put the time into it now, you're not going to reap the rewards. So we took the chain Harrow out the first time, and we wound up striping the field, and we went back and forth. Then after that, I wound up taking the broadcast spreader out in the field. We wound up broadcasting and went up and down the rows, and I had to go do it twice. And now we're going to go back over it with the chain Harrow, and basically that's going to hopefully get us our seed to soil contact by using the chain Harrow. We're going to go down the rows exactly as how we proceeded the first time. North and south and north and south, back and forth, and not changing our pattern. And that'll just kind of push everything down on the ground, and it gives us a format to follow. I've had really good results by doing this. Maybe not as good as direct seeding, but when you look at the cost factor, what it costs you to buy a broadcast seeder and a chain Harrow, to get, and then whether you have the 20-footer or even a 10-footer, the cost into that alone is not even a quarter amount that it would cost me for an overseeder. So I think that this is not a bad little system, but you have to understand you're going over the field several times, and it may not be, it's probably the most economical thing you can do when you're starting off. If you pay somebody, or try to do no-till, it's pretty tough around by me. So if you don't own it, you're not going to get it done. And you can't go to the county extension service and rent one anymore. So those days are over. So if you want to incorporate seed, you have to do it yourself. You have to come up with a better way. So to me, the less tillage we have to do, the better. And I kind of like using the chain Harrow because it's a multifaceted tool. And again, it depends how you use it in your operation. But I use it for many different things, so it doesn't just sit all year to be used once. I try to use them as much as I can, but it is an underused tool, meaning I should be using this all the time, and I don't. And that's kind of my mistake. And I'd like to get a designated tractor just to run this thing, because it's kind of a big pain to jump on and off, but it's a lot easier just to jump on a tractor, take off, and go. And I would use it a lot more in my hay fields as well as in my pastures. So it's something I'm thinking about doing too, picking up another tractor and just having it run for that. But with that said, I'm going to finish this field, so let's go out and let's get to it with the chain Harrow. When it comes to overseeding, you need to kind of know in your area when is the best time to overseed. In northeastern Ohio, fall is their best time, and between September and October is the best time to overseed any of your hay fields and pastures. Now, in the springtime, they talk about frost seeding, and years ago in Ohio, we used to have a lot colder weather, a lot snowier weather, ground would be a lot firmer. But the way the nature has been going every winter, it's been softer, and the ground is just going to rut it all up. So I prefer to overseed in September and October, and those are optimum times for me, and I've had really good success. So find out what works best for your area, and like I said, my overseeding program is mostly with grass hay too, so that is also a factor. So I know a lot of people do clover and they overseed with that as far as legumes go, but again, depending on what kind of grasses are popular in your area and what grows best, that's where you should talk to your agronomists in your state and find out what works best. So I'm flying down this field, and you can clearly see the stripes, at least in this direction, and with the chain here. I'm going back over it one more time after we seeded, and it's relatively pretty simple. You know, and anything that's dry grass that we put out last time before, you know, we pulled up to the surface, is breaking down a little bit farther today. So it's just one of those tools that you can go do this all summer long. You can't go wrong. Even if you just baled this field and you waited a week and you went back in there and took a chain harrow through it, not only are you breaking up the old dirt, but all the seeds that came off of your Timothy, or maybe even the orchard grass, fescue, whatever you had planted, is going to be incorporated back into the soil by using a chain harrow. You can't overuse the chain harrow. I don't even care if you're in drought conditions. That's actually a good thing because it helps eliminate some of the thieving weeds that would try to suck up the moisture from your hay. So this is really not a bad way to go, and I suggest you guys give this a shot. You can't go wrong with a chain harrow, even if, you know, but the problem I think that a lot of people they have is, you know, how do you measure this? And I don't really know if you can. I just know that the results that I see, it's doing something. And, you know, if you can use a tool for multiple things, it's not a bad way to go. So, and also, like I say, I'll try to show you this in the spring what this field looks like, just for you to get an idea, but it was definitely not that happy. And if you got a good spray program going, then you shouldn't have a problem with this. It should work out good. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video on how to overseed a hayfield. You know, the combination of a chain harrow and a broadcast seeder are two good combinations that work very well together. And you know, what's nice with the chain harrow is it has multiple functions, not only for overseeding, but it could be also used in direct seeding, it could be used in de-thatching, and also pasture management, pushing around the manure. You know, you should overseed your hay fields every 3 to 5 years, and even your pastures as well. And so, you know, to stay on top of it, this combination works well. And I've had good luck overseeding with this combination. So, you know, I think that it's a good way to start if you've never done overseeding before, and if you currently do, you know, maybe you have a better system that works for you. But this is a system that works for me, and I kind of want to let everybody know that this is a component out there that you can utilize and have good success. Until next time, see you guys soon.